Your nation, your news. One American News Network.
They told a damn lie, because the very next day it was exposed there was another soldier that committed suicide, and they covered it up. This has been a pattern that's been going on ever since General Sandecki has been the chairman there. And I listened to the president today, and I was very disappointed with President Obama today. There was no urgency. Mr. President, we need urgency. We need you to roll up our sleeves and get into these hospitals.
Wow, that was passion. Now, I'll tell you why that was significant, ladies and gentlemen. The congressman you saw there on the floor of the House was Democratic Congressman David Scott of Georgia, not a Republican. I've been saying from day one, this cuts both ways. Democrat and Republican is nonpartisan and is going to engulf this White House. It's time for our grassroots panel. Joining me in studio is Melory Tsipouria. He's president of the U.S.-Georgia Friendship Association, not as in Atlanta, Georgia, but as in Republic of Georgia.
Correct.
Also in studio is Terry Urich. She is a national health care policy expert. Good to see you, Terry. Get those smiles going on. It's the first time on the show. It's fun to be here, huh?
Yeah.
And also in studio is political journalist, commentator, and Democrat strategist. Well, not strategist.
No, I don't work for the party.
Could be Matt Bowler. Good to see you, Matt.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
All right, let's start with Melory Tsipouria. Of course, your issues tend to be international with Russia-U.S. relations vis-a-vis Russia, Georgia. But your take on what you just saw there.
Well, if it's a preview for the VA scandal for Obamacare, then we are in a bad surprise. If they cannot manage this segment, how are they going to manage 1/6 of our economy? So that's my initial take on it. I think heads should be rolled, people must be prosecuted, and it must be done quickly and to take care of the people in the backlog.
Let's go over to Matt real quick. Matt, do you agree with me that this is going to stick? This scandal is not going to be IRS. It's not going to be Benghazi.
I think this is much bigger than those two scandals, in my opinion. And I think you're right. I think heads need to roll. And I'm wondering if there is potential for criminal prosecution on this as well. And Obama's got, in my opinion, about a week or two to react here, as far as prosecuting people, as far as firing people, as far as taking decisive action. If he doesn't take decisive action, then he's going to lose Democrats. He's going to lose moderate Republicans that may have voted for him. He's going to lose independent voters.
You know, and before we go to Terry Urich, what's interesting about, you say, is a week or two to react? Mm-hmm. It's astounding. Their public handling of this has been wrong, and wrong. They were slow to react, and then when he reacted yesterday, he was weak, as we saw from the Democratic congressman, was outraged. Terry Urich, you want to weigh in on this?
It's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that kind of quality of care in a VA hospital, I mean, these people have given their lives for, you know, this country, and they're treated like that. So we had a little private conversation about it earlier, and it's criminal. I think that there's more than one person involved. I mean, how can this doctor comes out after the fact and, you know, kind of is a little whistleblower, and why didn't other people come forward when they saw wrongdoing? That bothers me. So,
well, again, I'm with you guys that this is real. It's going to stick. The media is going to have to cover this one, unlike the others. All right, let's shift gears and let's take a quick look at this video.
The summer can be a pretty uncertain time, not knowing when or where they are going to get their next meal. And it can be a stressful time for those kids' parents as well, who have to stretch every dollar they have to feed their family today. During the summer, hunger goes up in this country about 34% for families with school-age kids. Tens of millions of kids across our country who did not have access to meal programs in the summer.
So there's Senator Patty Murray saying that we should use government-subsidized meals for kids during the summer. Let's start with Terry. You jumped out of the gate with me.
I disagree. You know, I heard her talking about that previously, and I think it's ridiculous. I think that there's a better solution than giving families debit cards to buy groceries. I mean, you have no control over what kind of quality of food these kids are going to get, or if they're going to be buying Coca-Cola and Cheetos and all these.
Melory, why not just go full bore and say the government's going to be socialist and take care of it? You're a former Soviet Union citizen.
And I've seen how how that functions or not functions.
Right.
But anyway, we already got those programs for the kids and the low income and subsidies and so forth. So why new program and why enlarging the bureaucracy?
And where they said the money's going to come from is to take away a tax cut for big business. So.
We're getting into class warfare. That's not a solution.
Matt Bowler, in a few remaining seconds here, you support that?
I support feeding children, yes.
Right.
Yes, I mean, it's hard to argue with that. The issue, I think, is systemically, how are you going to do it? And maybe having the school year set up the way we have it set up is the wrong way to do it.
Well, then that's a different issue.
That's an entirely different issue, but it deals with the same problem because it keeps kids in school. It gives them a longer school year, gives them access to the facilities to eat. Because a lot of the kids, there are some schools that are entirely on free lunch. And nobody wants children starving.
No one is saying
no one wants that.
Don't feed the homeless kids or the poor kids.
Feed poor
That's a different issue, though, altogether.
We already got food stamp programs that qualified families get it. On that, I have to rudely interrupt you and take a quick break.
Okay.
All right, we'll continue with our panel right after this. Rick Amato, back right after this.
Your news, One American News Network.
Dig up some emails that make part of the Affordable Care Act that doesn't look good, especially from people who've made up their mind that they don't want it to work because they don't like the president. Maybe he's of the wrong color, something of that sort. I've seen a lot of that, and I know a lot of that to be true. It's not something you're meant to talk about in public, but it's something I'm talking about in public because that is very true.
What a brave man. Democratic Senator Rockefeller from West Virginia saying that if you oppose Obamacare, you're a racist. It's also very unoriginal. All right, it's our grassroots system panel. I want to turn to our healthcare policy expert, Terry Urick. Where do you? I have no idea. Where do you stand on Obamacare?
I didn't vote for Obama. I can tell you that, and I am not a supporter. But as far as healthcare reform goes, I've seen it do some good. But
So do you like Obamacare or not? I don't have.
Well, it's my business. Obviously, I sell a lot of health insurance for businesses and individuals. But as mentioned, I try to stay not too crazy on that. But I think it has a lot of problems.
All right,
I've seen it help people.
All right, so he's not going to answer the question. Is someone opposes, are they a racist?
No, I think what he's saying is ridiculous. If you don't like Obamacare, it doesn't make you a racist.
Are you a racist? Do you support Obamacare?
I do not.
Do you like black people?
Of course I do.
I do.
Well, Senator Rockefeller is retiring, and perhaps time. Right. And, instead of arguing merits of the case, or in this case, the law, he's resorting calling the names, and that's uncalled for.
Good observation.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Matt Bowler, as someone who supports this president every inch of the way, you've got to be... Are you disappointed?
I don't know if I would say every inch of the way at all.
You don't.
But I don't think just because I disagree with someone that they're a bigot because I disagree with them. I think you're right. I think he's retiring, and he's going to say whatever it is he wants to say at this point in time because there's no recourse for him.
You believe he believes that, or you believe
I think he thinks that there are a lot of people that don't like Obama because he's black. Yeah, I think he thinks that there are bigots out there who are very active. Yeah, and that's true. But that doesn't mean that everyone.
That's a different story.
That's a different story entirely. That doesn't mean that people who disagree with you are bigots because they disagree with you. That's a ridiculous notion.
Well, speaking of bigots, Mark Cubano, otherwise known as Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, found himself in some unusual controversy recently. He was speaking to a group, and of course he came out and really criticized Donald Sterling, the LA Clippers owner. So Mark Cuban came out and said, look, you know what? When I walk down the street at night and I see a young black kid in a hoodie, I cross the street to the other side of the road. When I walk down the street at night and I see a young white kid with a shaved head, all tattooed out, I walk on the other side of the road. You know what I call Mark Cuban, Matt Bowler? I call him an astute, smart individual. I do the same. I get my defenses up if it's white or black and they're looking kind of creepy.
If you're walking alone down the street and you feel uncomfortable,
but let me finish.
Walk on the other side of the street.
Let me finish this. He is now being attacked on social media for being a bigot. Is he a bigot?
Well, based upon that, I would say he's judging people on the street like anybody else judges.
There you go.
Everybody judges.
Now,
absolutely.
I don't know him, so I don't know if he's a bigot or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know he's controversial, and he's had other issues, and colorful, but and definitely an eccentric. But everyone judges everyone and you know what? If I'm walking down the street and I see someone that makes me uncomfortable, I'm going to walk on the other side of the street too.
Terry Urich, we are in a overly sensitive pop culture, I would say.
We are.
What do you say?
Yeah, an overly sensitive pop.
Is that what this story tells you, or not?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know what, everybody judges. I think it's, everybody's going to have an opinion whether they say it out loud or not. Outside of their household, you know, just a few people got caught saying things outside in public. So,
yeah.
You know, we all think it. We all think certain things, whether it's...
And Donald Sterling said what he... Donald Sterling said what he thought in a private conversation, no matter how ignorant it was, and we saw what happened to him, didn't we, Melory?
Besides, you cannot even compare what Sterling said to what Mark Cuban said.
No.
And nothing in what Cuban said, nothing bigoted. And besides, he's a... you said you don't know him, but he's a public figure, so there is nothing in his past that known to public that anywhere remotely, somebody could tell about him he's a bigot or of any sort. So
by the way,
that's ridiculous.
Dennis Rodman
way over the top.
Dennis Rodman was his roommate at one time.
Really?
Yeah.
Of Mark Cuban.
Of Mark Cuban. I say roommate. When Rodman played for the Mavericks, Mark Cuban had him live in his home.
Okay. Well,
I think he was more starstruck than anything.
He's eccentric to say the least.
Eccentric. Anyway, it's an interesting story because it shows the extremism of political correctness in this country, and political correctness, I want my viewers to know, I believe is a weakness. I don't care if you're discriminating, so-called discriminating against this group or that group. You know, it's just ridiculous. Any final comments on that?
Just way over the top.
I want to get your take, Melory, in a remaining moment. President of the U.S.-Georgia Friendship Association. In less than a minute, what's your take on what's happening in Ukraine, the latest events?
I've spoken about that on your previous show, and I think we're making a mistake. The sanctions are limited. With harsh sanctions, you can solve those. Administration believes that Putin can be changed, reformed. He cannot be pleased or appeased. He must be defeated. He's the source of the problem, not just in Ukraine, but the Iran issue, Syria issue, and many of the conflicts around that region. So he must be defeated, and to do that, it's not with any military involvement, but with harsh sanctions targeting the oil industry in particular.
I have asked out loud on the show, why doesn't our leader and Putin get it together on the phone and say, look, let's agree to allow Ukraine to be independent, not side with the West, not side with Russia. There will be peace for everybody. But you say that's not the right idea.
That's impossibility. That's impossibility. That will demonstrate completely a lack of knowledge about Russia, about Putin and his politics. So that's impossible. We have to defeat him. There is no other viable option. There is no other real option. He must be defeated. His regime must be defeated. And Russian people deserve better leader than that. He's destroying Russia in the long run. And Obama should address Russian people, explaining that those actions would not be directed against them, but against this criminal regime.
All right.
And I would go even further, refer him to International Criminal Court, because God knows he has done enough.
All right. Well, unfortunately, I don't think any of that's going to happen. I mean, I don't think we're...
You're probably right with this administration.
Well, I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, with this administration.
Unfortunately.
But the administration did do the right thing against the Chinese on cyber warfare. That's a whole different story, though.
Of course.
All right, I want to thank our grassroots citizen panel, Matt Bowler, Terry Urich, and Melory Tsipouria. Thanks for being part of our panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you, our viewers. We're right back at you again tomorrow night, same time, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific.